In this video, I would like to teach you a little bit about the basics of chemistry. I'm assuming that most of you don't know very much about it, and I want you to understand a little bit before we study some things in biology. The first thing you need to know is that all living things are made of these things called atoms. They're the tiniest little piece of matter. Atoms are the smallest unit of matter, the smallest piece of matter, and atoms themselves are made of smaller parts called electrons, protons, and neutrons. Electrons are negatively charged. Think of like a magnet having a negative charge. Protons have a positive charge, and neutrons have no charge. They are neutral. Atoms are arranged like this. The protons and neutrons are found in the center in an area called the nucleus, and the electrons are found outside the nucleus in these round, big areas. They're sometimes called clouds. The other thing you need to know is that atoms of every element are different. That's what makes elements different. Now, all atoms have a certain number of electrons outside that nucleus, but some atoms are not happy with the electrons they have. Some are not stable atoms. Some atoms would like to lose an electron. Some would like to gain an electron, get an extra one. When they do that, if an atom loses an electron or gains an electron, we call it an ion. Other atoms that are not happy may want to share their electrons so that they will have the right number that they like to have. If atoms share electrons, they might form something called a molecule, such as sugar. Sugar is a molecule, or baking soda. Shared electrons hold the atoms together. They're bonded together like tape or glue. They stick together. We call this a covalent bond. And here you can see electron energy here holding these two atoms together. Here's the two nucleus areas. Again, here we have the element carbon being held together here by these two electrons that are sticking the atoms together in a covalent bond. Now, some atoms, when they share electrons, they don't share nicely. Instead, some atoms pull on the electrons more. They take more of the electrons than the other atom that they're sharing with. This means in some atoms there might be a slight charge, actually in some molecules, across the molecule. The example is water. Water is H2O. It has two hydrogens and one oxygen atom. In a molecule of water, the oxygen atom holds more tightly onto the electrons. So in one water molecule, one end will be negatively charged and the other end will be positively charged. Now, because of these charges, we say that water is polar, and we say that it will form, we see that it will form bonds, a new kind of bond between water molecules. The oxygen that's negative sticks to the hydrogen that's positive. This is a special kind of bond called a hydrogen bond. Now, because of the hydrogen bonds, because water is like that, it has unique properties that we're going to talk about. Make sure you understand these properties. The first is that water can absorb a lot of heat. That's why we use water to cool things down. It can absorb heat. We sweat. When we sweat, the water cools our body. This elephant, of course, is pouring water on his body, not because he wants to be wet, but because he wants to cool down, because water can absorb the heat due to hydrogen bonding. Secondly, water, when it freezes, because the water sticks together a certain way, it forms a crystal when it freezes. It forms a shape so that the molecules are farther apart, and that means it floats. So you see this ice is floating up. Because of that, the water below stays a little bit warmer, and the fish can survive under the frozen top of the lake water. Next, we see because of hydrogen bonding that water has a surface tension, which means that it acts like it has a skin on top. Those water molecules stick together and form a film over the top of the water. And we know this is true because we've seen bugs that can stand on the water. We know that leaves float on top of the water. And you've probably seen water droplets. These are all due to water's surface tension. Next, because of hydrogen bonding, we also know that water, through capillary action, can travel all the way from the roots of the tree all the way up to the leaves. And we've seen this. If you ever wipe up a spill with a paper towel, the water will creep up the paper towel. That's called capillary action. Water sticks together. And finally, we say water is a good solvent. That means it can dissolve many substances. Sugar, salt, and many other substances will dissolve easily in water. That's the last unique special property of water due to hydrogen bonding.